Okay, so good day to everyone. We're on page 183 in the Maimor Melukotim, volume 3, in the Maimor Amar Reb Alexandrai, and we'll start today learning chapter 2, but let's read the Kitzer synopsis of what we learned in chapter 1. So let's look at it together on the page 183 towards the bottom in the smaller letters. HaTorah Payel Shinui Eitzel Mishalei Midlishma. The Torah makes an impact, makes a difference, changes a person if the person indeed learns Torah for the sake of Torah, called Leimed Lishma. V'yesh kama deyes b'pula zu. There are several attitudes and opinions that this change makes. Until the ultimate virtue, which is Kiruv HaGeula, brings the Geula. Remember, we had Rabbi Alexandroi's opinion that through learning Torah Lishma, you create peace in the heavenly and earthly abodes. Then we had Rav's opinion that you build a palace, a heavenly and earthly palace, where you learn Torah for the sake of Torah. Then we had the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, who says that it protects, that you cause protection for the entire world. And finally, we had Levi's opinion that it brings the Geula, the redemption. So that's what he says here. In other words, when you learn Torah for the sake of Torah, there are various accomplishments. It's not that they're contradicting each other. There are multiple accomplishments. The ultimate accomplishment is that it actually brings the Geula. Let's continue. Tchilas Geulas Mitzrayim Mibe'erev. Actually, I take this. This synopsis is not for the previous chapter. It's for the upcoming chapter. Okay, the initial redemption of Egypt is considered evening, Erev, Mariv. Ve'etzem hayitzia hoyse b'yoyim. But the actual leaving, vacating Egypt was during the day, right? At night we had Passover, Pesach. But the actual going out of Mitzrayim was during the day. The Rebbe says we'll be talking about in the upcoming chapter, Meitzer Hagoron, the tightness of the neck. Okay, new words, Ari. Meitzar comes from the word sar, narrow. Mitzrayim is associated with the word Meitzar, Mitzrayim. Meitzar Hagoron. Goron is the neck, right here. Meitzar Hagoron, the narrowness of the neck. Your head is large, your body is large, bigger. And in between there's a neck. And it's a narrow thing compared to the head and the body. Meitzer HaGorin hu HaMitzrayim Shaba'adam. What is the Mitzrayim within man? It's your neck. Why? It's an intermediary between your mind and your heart. In order for things to come, shalom, from the mind, from up here, to impact the heart, it has to go through a narrow straits. We'll talk about this in the Maimer, but that's what he says we're going to be learning. Now let's actually learn chapter 2. Whoever involves himself in the study of Torah for the purpose of Torah, which is called Lishma, for its sake, someone who learns Torah. Lishma, hainu shahatayra me'ir eloi. And again, he gives his definition, meaning that the Torah illuminates him, not that he tells the Torah how to illuminate the situation. But he's a receiver, a receptacle, and he receives the guidance and illumination of the Torah. That's the meaning, that's the ultimate experience of learning Torah Lishma. It must be that his involvement in Torah tifal boy binyone avoda should impact him in matters of avoda. If you learn Boaz Torah Lishma, you are going to change. Not maybe, but surely. It's for sure. And frankly, when you see you don't change, that's because you're not learning Torah Lishma. You're learning Torah for various different reasons. But if it's really for the sake of Torah, and you're allowing Torah to illuminate you, and you're not, telling the Torah how to be the Torah, you're going to change, right? Because you're looking for, you want its illumination. So whatever and wherever and however it illuminates you, you go along. But when we bring in our stuff into Torah, and then we say, well, we didn't change. So you come to the rabbi, you come to your teacher, you come to your mashpia, say, teacher, Rebbe, mashpia, I'm learning, and I'm 1 second, I'm still the same old fellow, right? I'm still stale, unimpressed, boring. I want to sleep in. I'm not interested in studying. The answer is because somewhere inside your psyche, inside your makeup, you have not submitted completely to Torah, but you are legislating to Torah. Yes, Boaz.
I'm just going to say it's tricky because that's also bringing the yesh in when I'm saying I'm doing this because I want it to change me, right? Like we've been talking.
Right. So Boaz, if you say or think that, you're 100% right. He doesn't mean here where he says,
in the Torah they're telling me it's going to change me, so I'm learning it to change me.
No, I'm learning because Hashem tells me to learn. No, I don't learn because I want it to change me. I'm learning because I have a belief in God Almighty. He says learn. What we're saying is that the result must be from such a learning that it'll make a change. But you're right. You're so right. If you go about with that attitude, I'm learning because I want it to change me, that's also not Lishma.
It's only to get better, right?
Exactly. Let's continue. So that's why he says the words. Look at the words here. Behechrach. It must be Ari. Baruch, it must be. It can't be that you should learn Torah and remain a horse. You can't remain a horse if you're learning Torah properly. You'll be a lion. You'll be a raging lion for Torah and God because you're following the dictates of Hashem. And now the Rebbe says, and these are the various opinions that we quoted at the beginning of the Maimer regarding the results of learning Torah Lishma. And he says, this rabbi says, Shemesim, turn the page to 184. Sholem, that this rabbi says that this brings peace. Pamalya Shomaila in the heavenly abode, or Pamalya Shomata in the earthly abode. Pamalya in Yonei Chelis. Okay, what does the word Pamalya mean? So I've been translating it abode. But really, in Yonei Chelos. In Yonei Chelos means that it's of awe. It's not just a setting where they're eating popcorn and watching the football game. This setting, this pamalya, this gathering is an awesome gathering. There is an energy, an awesomeness to this gathering. And over there you cause peace to that gathering. What does this practically mean? Hu inyan midos. This refers to the emotions. Over shalom. And when it says that in Rabbi Alexandra, he says that when you learn Torah Lishma, you bring, good day, Moshe, you bring shalom to the Pamalya, it means hu inyan haschabros. Remember what I told you, right? What do we say in the Shemon Esrei? Baruch. Oiser shalom b'mrayim, if he makes peace in heaven. Who is Hashem making peace? What's going on? We have Michael, the angel of water. Gabriel, the angel of fire. They're at each other's necks. They want to extinguish each other. One wants fire, one wants water. Eisa Shalom comes along, God Almighty. He says, hey guys, you're working for me. And I have room for both of you. And he makes peace. He brings them together. So Shalom is taking two opposite forces. the first verse is the very easygoing force. And he says, you could live together. And you need to live in peace. And you can live in peace if you know that you are working for a superior God. So the Rebbe says, that Reb Alexandroi says that when you learn Torah for the sake of Torah, called Torah Lishma, you make shalom b'pamalya, you make shalom in this intense situation, right? We're not talking about making peace amongst weaklings. We're talking about everyone is a heavy hitter. And this guy's a heavy hitter in transportation. And this guy's a heavy hitter in budget finance. And he says, my friends, we don't have money for more buses. We cannot afford to have more buses come and pick up the Yiddish Kinderlach to go to yeshiva and to girls' school in the morning. Sorry. Comes along the minister of transportation and says, what are you talking about? The only reason why we have buses is to transport Yiddish Kinderlach to learn Torah. He says, I understand, but there's no funds for it. We have a schism. We have two opponents, and each one is forceful in his view. That's a papmalia. Chelos. Awesomeness. Fearsomeness. God Almighty makes peace, and he brings together the two forceful opposite opinions and forces. Then you understand now? We've now taken this simple Talmudic statement and raised it, or opened it up, better said, to a whole other experience. Well, because really, when you learn the Gemara, one second, Hilo, it's like enigmatic. What does it mean? He makes peace to the heavenly abodes and the lower abodes. What's going on over here? Now we understand. We have a situation which we have two forceful emotional powers, emotional ways. And we need to get them together because each one says there's no room for the other one. Yes, Hillel.
It's very nogea to this week's parsha, Parshas Vayigash.
Okay.
Because Vayigash alav Yehuda, the Yehuda steps forward to encounter the power of Yosef and brings his power, and the Medrash and the Navi talk about the ultimate reconciliation, bringing together the forces of Yehuda and of Yosef.
Right, and Chasidus, thank you for that. In Dalta Rebbe, in his Torah Ors, talks about Yehuda is Hoda, Kabbalah soil, doing it with an acceptance of God's yoke. And Yosef represents to add, to increase, which is the idea of intellect, which adds to the more and more understanding. And each one has a different direction. So Vayigash Elav Yehuda. Yehuda approaches Yosef, and ultimately there is, as it says in the Haftorah, there's two pieces of wood and they become one. You'll read it in the Haftorah. So this is also part of what you're saying. Let's continue inside. And he says, V'hainu hamida shebelev, you need to bring peace to the emotions of the heart, hanolodos mehamida shebeseichel, that are born, hanolodos, that are generated by the midos, by the emotions within the intellect shebeseichel. Just for a moment, where do emotions begin? Where do emotions begin? Shalom, where do emotions begin? Emotions don't begin in the heart, they begin in the head, but they're emotions. Yes, emotions of the heart are heartfelt emotions. You feel fear, you feel love, you feel mercy. But if you think about it, where are they generated? Where do they begin? They begin yet in the mind, and it's called midos shebeseichel, emotions within the intellect. Because when you think about a certain thing and you understand it, you develop right there and then a tendency to say, I want it or I don't want it. I like it or I don't like it. But it's all up here. It's in the cup, in the head, in the seichel. And from there, somehow, it's translated and transported into the heart. So the Rebbe says the midos of the heart are generated in the midos of the seichel, and one needs to bring shalom. We're talking all about your name, shalom. Because the Gemara, Rabbi Alexandri says, learning Torah for the sake of Torah brings shalom, brings peace, brings together forces that are emotionally very passionate, each one in its own right and its own direction, and brings it together. So the Rebbe says that you should know where does those emotions begin with its passion. It begins in the head, but in the head it takes a second seat to the mind. The mind, the intellect, is in control in the head. In the heart, who is in control? The heart, the emotions. So, Oiseh Shalom. God makes Shalom. He makes peace by bringing them together. That's the first opinion. Number two, Rav Amar, the second opinion, Rav, he says, not only does one who studies Torah Lishma, Masim Sholem Beinehem, make peace between them, Elishigam Boine Poltin Shel Maila. He does more so. He actually builds a heavenly palace, Shehu Inyan HaHavona V'Hasoge Ba'avodas HaMoyach. This means that he actually comprehends and understands with his mind very well the situation at hand. When you talk about bringing peace between two opponents, or from one to the other, from the mind to the heart, there is the emotional way of doing it, and then there's an intellectual way of doing it. So he says that the second opinion, this rabbi named Rav says that not only do you bring peace to the heavenly and earthly abodes, but you actually build a palace in heaven and earth. What does it mean to build a palace? No one's building palaces. It means of a palace, which means you're understanding fully why there should be peace between the two. You understand that the benefit of hurting and fighting won't change the situation. You have to change the paradigm. Right? What does Tanya teach? Basic Tanya? Moyach shalit al halev. Mind over matter. Right? That's why you could diet from today to tomorrow, and then you gain the weight back. If you don't change the lifestyle and the attitude towards food, most times the weight comes back. Just giving one example. And so it's true with anger, with insult, with all those character flaws that people have. Unless they made what's called a paradigm shift, you are who you are. You were raised a certain way, and those ugly demons are stuck inside. And they come out. They come out. You know that famous anecdote of the cat and the mouse, where the cat was walking around the hall and saw how the waiter is bringing the wine glasses and giving it to people, and the cat said, "I'm a cat. I can do the same thing. I'll train myself to walk around and somehow offer people drinks." So the cat decides to do that. And one day, a mouse comes in and the cat and the mouse go at each other, and the cat drops all the wine glasses and they all break. What happened? The cat reverted to its very core. You're a cat. The level of intellect of the cat is not human intellect. A cat is instinctual. So as soon as the mouse came into the room, the cat went crazy and forgot completely that it's carrying wine glasses. A second nature to it. It wasn't its real nature. That anecdote is given to explain that if we don't make an internal change in our mind, in the moach, the lave, the heart, will always revert back to itself. If not today, tomorrow. If not tomorrow, in 10 years. But that part of you, who you are, and if it's not healthy and you don't like it, unless you understand how destructive it is and how you must eliminate it and you work on it, it's always going to be there. That's a basic tenet in Rambam, not just Chasidus, and of course Chasidus elaborates, and Musar, Ramchal, all the Sfarim talk about this. So why are you saying this? He says here, Rav Omar, you build, one second Hillel, both of you, you build Paltin Shel Maila. Everyone's going to get a chance. Just give me 1 second. You build a palace. Baruch, why is a palace the Moyach? I'm asking you a question. Baruch.
Yeah.
What, are you following or you're dreaming?
I'm following.
Okay. He says here that Rav says that when you learn Torah Lishma, you build a palace, a heavenly and earthly palace. And the Rebbe says here, the palace is tantamount, is equivalent to the Moach. I'm asking you, why?
Why?
Do you follow my question or you don't understand my question?
I understand your question, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you think about it as you walk home today, okay?
Okay.
Now,
Bye.
Ari and then Hillel. Ari, you wanted to ask something.
No, so the answer to this question of being able to change permanently the mitos or your attitudes, you're saying Torah Lishma, that if you actually learn for the sake of what you're going to illuminate, what you're going to take from the Torah, that you actually can permanently change your way, or are you saying that inevitably you're going to still come back to the anger and the whatever attribute?
Again, what each one of the four opinions is kind of has another opinion, and the second opinion of Rav is that if you don't change your paradigm, the way you think about it, your midos will remain ugly and destructive, even though they're on hold for many years. So you have to. What? What is it? Yeah. So in other words, so therefore engage. So he says learning Torah Lishma means to come to a point where the Torah changes your paradigm.
That's what it's saying. So it can change.
Yes. Hillel, what did you want? Hillel.
No, I wanted to point to the Ari.
Okay. So listen, these things are said easily. To implement them is work, and you got to work. We have to work. We weren't put on earth to play golf every day, and even playing golf, to put that golf ball into the hole is not easy. Anything that I told you once, the Hasidim of the third Rebbe of Lubavitch at Tzemach Tzedek, they had a famous quote, and it's something that we should live with. Anything that comes easy, run away from it. Run away from it. Because if it comes easy, it means you didn't earn it, you didn't create it, and it's not you. Yeah, so temporarily it feels good. But at the end, you revert back to yourself. So don't look for handouts. the Rebbe, I just read Hanukkah, right? The Rebbe used a menorah. I don't know if you saw this online. It wasn't a silver menorah. And the Rebbe was given silver menorahs. He chose not to use them. So Zalman Jaffe of Manchester, who had a kind of a close, open relationship with the Rebbe and the Rebbitzin, like a more of a friend to friend, if you could say that. And so he asked the Rebbe. He says, we gave you a beautiful silver menorah. We'd love the Rebbe to use it because a Rebbe, a tzaddik, is like a king, and you should use a prominent menorah. And the Rebbe wrote him a letter. And the Rebbe said, thank you, but I don't use a silver menorah because I don't want other people to feel that they're less than me in any way because they can't afford a silver menorah or they weren't given a silver menorah. That's one example. Just the other day, my son shared with me with what Rabbi Weinberg of South Africa told the community here at Fabrengen. In the 60s, he had his bar mitzvah. His father started to broadcast Motzoi Shabbos, teaching Tanya on the airwaves, the WEVD in the New York area, and he also started to relate a talk that the Rebbe said on Shabbos. He would give over 15 minutes of a talk of the Rebbe. So he wrote to the Rebbe that this particular Motzei Shabbos, his son's having a bar mitzvah at a hall, and he wants to know if it's all right to broadcast from there. So the Rebbe said, of course, but don't say that you're having a bar mitzvah in a hall. This was in the 60s. This wasn't in the days when, people did. I had my bar mitzvah and I was in my house, okay? In my house. And you go back 10, 15 years before 16, you probably had it in shul. Your father brought a little, or my father in 1950 had his bar mitzvah in Ramla, right near Tel Aviv, right out here, not far from you guys, Ramla. As my father says, his father came to shul with a bottle of vodka and a cake, gave everyone a l'chaim and a piece of cake, and they wished the boy, my father, mazel tov for becoming a bar mitzvah. That was his bar mitzvah, nothing more. And he stayed a good Jew, okay? So when Rabbi Weinberg wrote to the Rebbe that he's going to be broadcasting from the hall in which his son's having a bar mitzvah, that means he rented a hall, which in those days was considered a fancy thing, spending money. And the Rebbe said, I don't want that the Tanya Shir that I'm encouraging you to do on the radio for you to say that you're doing it from a hall because other people will feel slighted. They can't afford to do a bar mitzvah in a hall. So you could, 1 second, Moshe, you could say that you're broadcasting tonight from the bar mitzvah, but don't say hall. A big sensitivity, but why am I saying this? Because to change the paradigm, to change a person's emotions requires an intellectual decision to make that change. You have to really understand why it's unhealthy. And when you understand, and you really understand, not it's lip service, then you'll act upon it and it'll help you make that change. Yes, Moshe?
Yeah, I was going to ask regarding what you were saying before that we have to make these changes in our life. And learning Torah Lishma is one avenue to that the healing, is that right? Or to improving, changing those. And the other question is, if it's not just that, today, people go to therapy, they do, what would the
well, look, again, his definition of Torah Lishma is not an easy definition to implement. Allowing yourself to be guided by Torah and not intervening and saying Torah, I want to tell you a little bit how to guide me. We all tend to tell the Torah, like this, like that. So it's not easy to learn Torah Lishma. Very few people learn Torah just for the sake of Torah. As Boaz pointed out earlier, even in this scenario, the difference between the mindset of I'm learning the Torah and that's it, versus I'm learning the Torah to make a change. Normally, I'm not even talking about a person who's about teshuvah, who wasn't religious and then becomes religious and says, I led this secular life and this wild life, drugs, girls, and all the narishkeit, and I wasted away. What the heck is going on? Enough already, right? That is a given. Because if you think about it, if you engage in all those three things, you end up on the streets and usually end up dead, so why kill yourself? God put you here and you could do so great. So you make a change, you get married, you have children, you build a Jewish home, you have what to show. And if you would have been in the bars and in Radio City and in Hollywood, then you would be in Las Vegas or you'd be in Tel Aviv, partying. What do you have? Another drink and another pleasurable situation, which is here tomorrow and gone tomorrow, here today and gone tomorrow. Nothing. It's totally a waste of who you are, and you come to that realization. That doesn't yet mean. That means that practically, you have found an equation that tells you it's worth to make a change. Torah Lishma is not about it's worth to make a change. What I'm saying is what I just said is a very important practical equation to get us to be normal and calm and civil. And stay married and have children and stick with it, okay? But that doesn't mean yet that inside your heart, you've made a real change where you don't have that lust anymore or that urge. Like the story that I've told you over and over from the Baltimore Jewish Times about 20 years ago, there was an article of Bali Tshuva who are not really sincere in their tshuva. And the proof and the I don't know if Hillel you read this, but I remember it because it hit me like a ton of bricks. So it says, and I knew a few of the people that the writer interviewed, about 20 people, and wrote about 20 people's. One or two of them I personally know. So I related to what she was writing, he or she was writing. And one of the things she says is that this one guy from Crown Heights, a Chabadnik, he did tshuva, he married, he had children, great. Every morning he would travel from Brooklyn to Manhattan on the train to work. He would choose a train car that he knew someone was sitting there with a big jukebox and played rock and roll music, because he had this taiva for rock and roll music. So the writer said, you see, that person's tshuva is not sincere. Now I disagree with her, because we are human beings, and the Alter Rebbe and Tanya, that's the beauty of the Tanya, of the prototype of the Beinani. They're telling you that we are, what's a Beinani? We're not tzaddikim. A Beinani is, how much do you control yourself? So the person, he didn't get the taiva of rock and roll out of his system. It doesn't mean that he's not a frum Jew, and doesn't mean that he's a fine Jew. Okay, that's something that he needs to work on. But she was looking at the flip side and saying, is he a real Baal Teshuvah? His urges of his youth, when he wasn't religious, still are there deep down. That was the analysis of the article. And again, that's not the way our holy Torah looks and judges and it's totally a secular way of looking at it. Nevertheless, and this is the point that we're discussing now in the Maimer, is there value to know that there's certain issues that are still remain inside that you need to work on? Absolutely. And that's the beauty of living life. And that's the beauty of living a Torah life, is that every day you have another opportunity to change and to grow. So Hillel, in the beginning, you spoke about, you said something, and I wanted to say to you that, every day when you come to shul, when you daven, when you put your talis over your head, you have a chance for a few moments to revisit, to reassess, and to grow again. And it's a daily opportunity. And to me, that's such a wonderful, special gift that Hashem gives us. He says, hey, men, go to shul. Or if you're not davening in shul for a reason, put your talis over your head, take some time, put your phone away, lock yourself in a room, think about the words you're davening, your relationship with Hashem, and refresh yourself. Refresh yourself. And refresh your mind, your cup. Ask yourself the hard questions. It's only you. You're under the talis. It's between you and God. Ask yourself the questions. Who am I? Why am I? Where am I going? And learn. Don't give your own cockamamie answers. Learn what the Torah tells you, who you are, why you are, and where you are. The Torah gives us answers every day. Where am I? Why am I? And who am I? And when you do this every day, I promise you, after a while, you'll see there are changes in your values and things, that you had a desire for that were unhealthy will dissipate. And if they don't, that's where therapy and counseling and comes into play. Listen, clinical depression is clinical depression. You could preach and learn Torah Lishma from today to tonight. If God forbid you have clinical depression, you need a psychiatrist to help you, a psychologist. I'm not from those that don't see the value in therapy and in psychiatry and psychology. But at the same time, there's so much that we gain from allowing the Torah Lishma attitude to infiltrate us. So everyone have a great day. And as you go home now, think about these ideas. I think it will really help all of us. Sei gesund. See you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.